global warming, pollution, labor dispute. This demand for change followed decades of unchecked growth. From 1950 to 2004, CO2 emissions surged while social inequality deepened. Women's workforce participation stalled below 42% and vulnerable employment steadily declined. To hold companies accountable, the ESG framework was born in 2004, forcing businesses to finally take responsibility for the planet and its people. And initially, the framework seemed to work. Between 2015 and 2020, research revealed that over 50% of corporate ESG investments drove positive financial returns, becoming a top priority for investors. And in regions that prioritize this, like the CIS, Europe, and North America, CO2 emissions were effectively controlled. But step outside these bubbles, and the global reality is harsh. Worldwide CO2 is still rising, women's employment remains stuck below 50%, and vulnerable groups were actually losing jobs. If the financial reports are so perfect, why is the planet still failing? What is being overlooked? To dig deeper, we selected 15 globally influential S&P 500 companies, 3 top players from 5 major industries. We cross-referenced their ESG ratings, financial performance, and their own ESG narratives. The results were counterintuitive. For the majority, third-party ratings were actually below the industry average. Yet, these same companies posted excellent financial growth, and their self-reports flawless. We looked for the ideal scenario, high ratings driving high profits, but found a very weak positive correlation. In fact, some companies with superior ESG scores actually suffered negative financial growth. Most baffling were the underperformers, poor ratings, poor profits, yet their ESG reports remained overwhelmingly positive. So what exactly are these companies saying? We stripped away the design and used the natural language processing to extract the core vocabulary of their reports. In the environmental sector, the focus is narrow. The conversation is dominated by carbon, energy, and emissions, words that align easily with global net zero targets. For social, the narrative plays it safe. Companies emphasize safety, health, and rights. These are essential, yes, but they reflect basic compliance. And in governance, it's all about defense. Risk, performance, and policy take center stage. Its words place greater emphasis on risk management and bureaucratic control. But words are just one part of the story. Structure is the other. We normalized every report from start to finish to see where they spent their real estate. The heat map reveals a striking imbalance. Look at the sea of green. For tech giants like Microsoft, the ESG report is effectively dominated by environmental data. This section consumes the vast majority of the narrative space. In contrast, governance, represented in blue, is marginalized, relegated to thin slivers or buried in the footnotes at the end. This visual evidence confirms a clear structural issue. Companies are not giving sufficient attention to every ESG agenda. Instead, the data suggests a pattern of selective reporting. We also analyzed the emotional tone of the text. Using valence sentiment analysis, we mapped the sentiment progression of each report from beginning to end. Our sentiment heat map shows the reports lean positive across all industries. Our sentiment dashboard reveals the reason. Positive phrasing accounts for a higher proportion, outpacing negative phrasing both in word count and score. We observed an interesting phenomenon regarding NVIDIA. Data from other third-party sources shows that between 2024 and 2025, their carbon emissions grew by 90%, with the annual levels exceeding industry peers. Despite the emission spike, NVIDIA maintains a perfect ESG rating. Simultaneously, their corporate report utilizes consistently positive language. This contradiction, where pollution levels are surging while receiving perfect scores, objectively calls into question the reliability of the entire rating system. While well-intended, ESG is compromised by inconsistent standards and corporate profit-seeking. The future demands a shift from narrative to evidence, requiring unified, data-driven standards that penalize selective reporting and prioritize measurable impact over polished storytelling.